I am DIYing and updating this jewelry stand. It's more like an earring stand. So I have altars for pretty much every element. For earth, fire, water, and ether. The ether altar was my very first altar, which has like my ancestors and my offerings, and it has my altars on it, my altars for my altar. The takeaways from my sacred ensembles photo shoot are on there, and my crown is on there, and my other crowns are around it. Naturally, actually, I didn't realize, I more so naturally made another altar for water after I realized my ether altar was spreading out onto the other wooden surface next to it, and it just didn't really spiral out of control per se, but I just kept making more sacred spaces for more things and more focused, I guess, elements. Yeah. And so then I ended up making a space that was mainly water elements. And then I realized, oh, I want one that's passionate. I want one that's like love-based. And that became my fire altar. And then I was like, oh, I had all these altar spaces, and I was like, oh, they're pretty much elements. We got the earth here, we got the water here, we got the fire here with the love and passion, but we don't have air. And I was like, an air altar? What would even an air altar look like? So this begins the organization of the air altar. And this was originally on my fire altar. And then I was like, to be honest, some of these altar spaces are a bit cramped anyway. That's how they ended up becoming more and more spread out and becoming their own separate elements, because there were so many things that I just kept adding to them. And so finally I was like, oh, let's just make specialized spaces for these elements. So now I am airifying this particular piece because I want it to be more obviously air. So I'm adding white feathers, a white feather boa, to it so that it's more specifically just air. And how I'm doing that is that I'm adding rings, like these jump rings, to the edges the earring posts would normally hang from. And then I'm threading the feather boa through them. And then I'm adding these sound balls that I had for years. I can't tell you how long I had these. I bought these, I don't even remember the name of the place, but it was like near 34th Street. It was near 34th and 6th Avenue. It's where like the bead industry was. I don't know if that's necessarily the case anymore in Manhattan, New York City. And so I bought 3 of these years ago because I just couldn't help, like, they're so cute, and you hear that sound, it just sounds so like Fantasyland fairy. Makes me think of well, now it makes me think of The Little Mermaid, but back then I don't think that's what I was thinking when I bought it. And this will become the first main piece, and it's actually going to be right here where you are propped up and where I'm looking. That's where My vanity is my greatest mirror. I have a few mirrors, but the mirror with the lights behind it. And so I thought, feather boa and some sound beads, bells, whatever, that they would be a nice addition to the sound, or not the sound, to the to this altar. And I don't know, I was just like, I feel massively motivated now. Don't ask me why, because at this moment in time, as I'm filming this, Mars is still retrograde in Leo. So what even got me into making altars, besides the fact that, I was like, my very first altar and couple of altars were really just to help me solidify my own sacred practices. I realized even the word altar literally comes or is related to the idea of an altered state. An altar, like AR, an altar, ER, are essentially the same word. We just use them for different things. And so when I learned, and this is all information that has been like integrated over years, not a lot of years, but like years. I remember Dr. B. Sirius, he is great for using words in a way that makes you realize, like, oh my God, that's what that word means. Like, he's done that multiple times for me, where he said something in a way, using a certain word in a way, and I realized, oh my God, that word does connect to this word and things like that. I think a lot of people are catching on now that the English language is a very confusing language. I mean, other linguists and other language speakers have been saying this for a very long time as they try and succeed at learning English and find themselves unnecessarily confused because there are certain words that just don't have any seemingly logical rules around their plurals or, whatever. Their tenses, past tense, present tense, whatever, And I agree with a lot of these people because when you actually sit and think about it, a lot of words are pronounced in ways where you can hide what they really mean in plain sight because of how we pronounce them. And that's so silly, but it is what it is. However, once you start to consider the words that you're speaking and saying, you kind of like undo the charm behind them, if you know what I mean. You can't see my face, but I'm giving you looks right now, if you know what I mean, because yeah, spelling is casting. Words are spells because we spell them, and they are casting something. They are producing illusions over us that we tend to agree and consent to by going along with what's being suggested to us via these words. And so once you realize that, you become more careful of the words that you say and more intentional of the words that you use, and you start to reject certain words that people use to suggest things at you, whether they realize it or not. See, because the amazing thing about humans, us, is that we are always manifesting. We're always projecting. And this is something that I have been knowing for a while, but I am now actively testing and have been testing that. And that's why I have multiple altars and multiple sacred spaces. because I have been seeing the evidence of my own magic at work. And the more that I see it at work is the more I want to test it. And so that is where the idea for more specified spaces has come from. I had a feeling it wasn't going to be enough. What do I do? Let's see. So we'll put these back in for now. Because the thing about creating the altar spaces, at least for me, is that I can bring you guys up a little bit. Okay, there we go. So the thing about the altar spaces that I create, for the most part, the intention is pretty aligned with hoodoo, where it's use what you have. And I say use what you have first and foremost. And then once it is secured in place, you're acknowledging it, you're coming to it, you know, you're interacting with it, engaging with it. Then you can add what you see fit. Because you know, I mean, as long as you are interacting with it, it's working. Because like I said, we're always manifesting. We're always projecting into our reality. And so, as we interact with sacred spaces that we create with our own intentions, we can already assume that they are working because we are interacting with them. So that means that we are taking time to recognize our own power. And that's the first bit of evidence that our practice is working, because we are recognizing our power. Then, what we do with our own power really speaks to how that's working. And I always say start with small tests. It took me a while to realize that. I said I always say. Well, I've realized that you should start with small tests. The thing about starting small is, like, you get a pace, you get a, you know, like a dopamine hit, a reward that will make it so that you want to keep going, you know? Because if you're not used to recognizing and acknowledging your own power, you could easily fall into or fall back into the habit of thinking and believing that you have none. And it's too small. The ring is too small. I need a bigger ring. I'm gonna go with these instead, or this one instead, because I was wondering, I'm like, I kept getting it on the edge of the hook, but it just wouldn't go around. It was too small. It couldn't go around. So let's try this again. When you're starting anything that you're not used to doing, it is going to be, in a way, hard or a challenge, right? And you want to encourage yourself to keep trying with this challenge. And I mean, we just need to be more realistic about who we are and how we work, guys. Like, we've grown up, a lot of us, being told, you know, to try harder, keep going, push and things like that. But, like, if you look at healthy, well-adjusted children, they tend to have been given encouragement, you know, that really helped and really worked. And so I feel that we should help ourselves by encouraging ourselves instead of forcing ourselves to do things just because we're used to being told and expected to do these things. And so I'll let this one stay here for now. We'll see if I find more feathers, because I used to be a costume designer, as maybe you can tell. So I have a lot of things that just hang out around and can be used for such projects. Okay. To my ear altar you go. Do you want to see how it looks? I'll show you. Pachow! There it is. In live action. Oops, wait. That was it. And until next time.